everybody. Good morning and welcome to My Ed Tech Life. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday. Hopefully, anywhere it is that you are in the world right now, whether it's your morning or your afternoon, or maybe for some of you, it may be late evening, maybe early Sunday. If you're wherever it is that you may be joining us, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of our morning. And today we have a wonderful, wonderful show with my great friend, Jamie Ellman, who we will introduce in just a second. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm just excited to be here every Saturday, and I just can't thank you enough for making my EdTech life what it is today. And today, I definitely want to give a special shout out to a great sponsor, one of our first sponsors. So I just really want to thank Grind Ops Coffee. Thank you so much to Grind Ops Coffee for just your amazing swag, and more than anything, also just the great creativity juice, because it definitely keeps the creativity flowing. So thank you so much for what you do, your service, and just your amazing product. So thank you, appreciate you. And guys, today we're definitely going to be having a great chat. Today, like I mentioned, we've got my great friend Jamie Ellman. We're excited. She's from Texas. I'm from Texas. So we're going to do a little bit of Texas talk here, Texas educator talk. So I'm really excited about that. Jamie, how are you today?
I am good. I'm so excited to be here with you. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Oh my goodness. I am excited too. I know that we caught up a while back and everything. And, we're going to be talking about it. Just a great show. And big shout out to Amanda Macias, who's joining us this morning from California. So thank you, Amanda, always being an amazing supporter of the show. And so, yeah, Jamie, I mean, I know we caught up, maybe it might have been almost 2 months ago or something like that. We got on a call. And, the title of the show today is Transition from Classroom to Platform. And I'm just excited to hear your journey, your journey through education. And now that you've joined a platform, a team, maybe there's the platform, many of our viewers and some of our friends may not know the platform yet, but today they will know a little bit more about it. So I'm just really, really excited for today's show and all the amazing stuff that you're going to share today. So let's go ahead and get started. Jamie, just for our audience members, those of that are going to be listening to the show or rewatching the show, just go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your context in education.
Gosh, so I am a career educator. I love saying that. It's so funny. I started teaching in 1990. Well, I did my student teaching in 93 and I started teaching in 1995. And I'm working with people now. And as a joke, once you reach a certain age, you kind of usually say, oh, you probably weren't born then. I had a conversation with someone the other day that I'm working with right now. And I said, when I graduated, he lives where I graduated in Boulder, Colorado. And I said, oh, you probably weren't born yet. And he went, no, I wasn't. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm old enough to be your mom. I thought he was in his 30s, maybe. I don't know. I usually can figure out how old someone is. Anyway, so I started teaching forever ago. There was a chunk of time that I didn't teach because I was a work at home mom. But my mom was a teacher. So honestly, it's the one career it's the only career I've ever wanted to do. And I went right to school after I graduated high school and wanted to become a teacher. I mean, there's never been anything else that I've wanted to do. I did do another job at one point when I was working from home, but so I've always been a teacher and I love teaching. And even though I'm kind of not going to teach full time, I'm still involved in teaching. So I started teaching in Colorado back in 1995, and we'll get into that because you'll love that whole story about my first teaching job. But I've taught everything from English to police academy.
Wow.
I know we'll get to that when we're talking about that in a little bit. But yeah, police academy, history. I mean, I've taught so many different things, and I just I love teaching and I love being with kids. And so I've taught in Colorado and New Mexico. I just moved to Texas a year ago. So I have my y'all saying down, and I love my HEB. I'm really loving my Texas experience, but I'm not from Texas, but I do love living here. But and I taught last year here in Texas for a year. But to be honest, I have always been in the forefront with technology in the classroom. It's always been one of my passions. Anytime there's anything new, I'm always doing it in my class. I mean, kind of before a lot of people, I mean, way back in the day, like Discovery Education, when that came out, that was like the coolest thing. And I was doing that in the classroom when I taught middle school. So it's always been such a perfect marriage, tech and my teaching. So I've always in the back of my mind have known that I want to do something with technology. So it just kind of, I really lucked out in this experience, which
Oh,
get to at some point how I got here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. But I love that you said that, career educator. That's the first time I ever hear somebody say that. Like a career educator, and the fact that you show so much passion about it. I know we were talking a little bit prior to the show. So tell us a little bit about this. So you mentioned that you're all pretty much your whole family, they are all educators. Can you tell me a little bit about how that was like for you growing up, surrounded by educators? And by any chance, did you ever have any of your own family be one of your teachers?
Well, my dad sure tried to be my teacher all the time. My father he is a retired vascular surgeon, and he's also probably I come from this family of, honestly, like, I guess I never realized that. I kind of thought everyone had a family like mine where everyone is like, they're brilliant. I mean, everyone in my family, they're the smartest people that I've ever interacted with. I mean, truly, like, they're all doctors and teachers, but even if they're doctors, they're teachers in their field as well. I mean, my one grandfather was a dentist and he was an inventor. He invented the first he was a dentist. He invented the electrosurge tool for in dentistry. Like, Elman International, that's a whole, my dad's side of the family, that's a whole thing. So brilliant, crazy. He was like the scientist in the basement all the time growing up, inventing things. And my other grandfather was a gastroenterologist. He was also the doctor of the 76ers for 25 or 30 years. He
Wow.
was the first like NBA doctor. He came up with that kind of idea that, NBA, like, professional teams need to have team doctors. So that's a whole other thing. So I grew up with these people who were super smart and creative. I mean, New York Times Sunday crossword puzzle kind of brilliant. So to me, my thirst for knowledge was always there. I loved reading. My parents read. I mean, to this day, I look forward to going to sleep to read, to get a book and dive into those worlds. So I have been a lifelong learner, and I love learning and I'm passionate about it. So I had that. And my grandmother was a piano teacher. My uncle is a jazz musician. So, I mean, I just had all of these really inspirational people in my life. So it just never crossed my mind to be anything but that. I mean, my younger brother is a cardiothoracic surgeon. So I kind of always joke, like, I'm just a teacher. And then everyone gets mad at me.
Mm.
They're like, I'm like, well, in my family, I joke about that. Like, everyone else in my family is a doctor. I'm just a teacher. But and then everyone says, yeah, but I would trust my kids more with you than anyone else in the world. So you have like such an important role in this
Yeah.
life. But
Aw,
yeah, so I grew
that
up,
is
I always wanted to be a teacher. I thought it was cool. I mean, my mom ran a school out of my house for ski racers. I grew up in Vermont ski racing. So she had a little tutorial school. So it just has always been a part of her
wow.
life. I know.
That is
I
that
have
is
a crazy
so
life.
cool, Jamie, and that's what I love. See, and that's what I love about this show, that you get to learn so much about people. And like, for example, myself, following you on Twitter, we follow each other on Twitter and everything like that. But it's different. I mean, we follow, but when we have an actual conversation and get to know you and see like your background, and now I see that passion, like you're describing, you're just really immersed into this world of learning and just piquing your curiosity at all times and things of that sort. That is just amazing. So I've learned some
Well,
wonderful stuff.
and that's what I want. I every day, like, that's what I bring into the classroom. And I want kids, whether and I call all of my students my kids. They know that. Like, I
Yeah.
love them. And I tell them on the first day of school, you need to know that you are now mine. I call you my kids. So when people ask me, are you talking about your students? Or no, I'll be like, no, well, no, my two, or my, I have four with my stepkids. But I want kids to have that. And a lot of kids don't have that passion. They're not excited to come to school and learn. And so I've always made that be a priority in my classroom and in life and with my kids as well. I want people to love learning. I want people to hear a word and not know what it is and look it up. I mean, I do that all the time. And I say things, I'm all day long. I'm looking things up. Like, you'll laugh at this. We drove by the other day, like an IHOP, and I turned to my boyfriend and I said, I wonder when the first IHOP came out. When do you think the first one? I can't stop wondering about things. So I look it up and I said, when do you think it is? So I am all day long thinking and passionate about learning. So
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Jamie, okay, so we've got that the roots of that love and that passion for education and growing up, and like you said, very important, making your students feel loved, feel wanted, feel like they belong, and providing that psychological safety there, that they know that they're in a safe space. But just before we get a little bit more into that, I just kind of want to know, like, at what point, I know you were surrounded by just some amazing, educators within their fields, maybe not necessarily, in the K through 12 setting, but of course, like you said, doctors and educators. But what was the one point at what point did you say, okay, this is what I want to do as a career? Like, or was it something that you said, no, this is it, this is what I'm going to do? Like, was there that one little instance where you said, that's what I want to be?
I think I just always had so many good experiences. And again, the high school that I went to was unlike most high schools. I mean, there were 75 kids in the whole school, this private boarding school for ski racers. And I had just had some of, again, the most creative, talented teachers. Now, I will say, I don't think I was probably 100% prepared for college, like most kids who go to public school, where there are standards and things that kids have to learn. Because I had cool teachers. Like, I had this one teacher named Mitch, and he was this total like hippie and had us read these things. He was my humanities teacher, and he had us read things like The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. I mean, no one knows what that book is, but like, instead of reading, I don't even know what normal kids read in like regular, like 11th and 12th grade English classes. So I had such cool experiences like that. And just watching teachers be able to, create these curriculum of things that they wanted to be able to teach and that kids were really interested in. Honestly, it was forever. I mean, I just always wanted to do that. And I will say, this will make you laugh. In my baby book, when I'm maybe in kindergarten, my parents always said I was extremely bossy and like to tell everyone what to do. So I pretty much just picked the job that fit my personality, because I get to boss around a bunch of kids all day long. I mean, I'm joking, like, I'm not like, but still, I mean, that's what a teacher does. You come in and you get to be in charge and you get to tell everyone. My dad always told me I should go into the military, but I think being a teacher is kind of similar. So I get to tell everyone what to do in my classroom. So it was
Nice.
kind of a natural like evolution for me and my
Yeah.
personality.
Oh, that is great. Now getting into teaching, like you said, okay, so you went to college, and you didn't go through, I guess, a conventional, I guess, or no, I don't want to say normal K through 12, but just like, I guess what you would see. So you say you missed on some of the standards, you went to college. So once you went to college, you got your prep and everything done. My question to you is, what is something you wish you knew before you started teaching, like when you actually going into the classroom?
Oh my gosh. I think probably for me, because I didn't learn this until I got my master's degree. I really wish I had learned a lot more about the different types of learners in the classroom. Um, Metacognition, which I know is that big kind of word that some people like to use, but truly for me, that was like such an aha moment, because I'm a visual learner. I literally, like, when people talk to me sometimes, I mean, everyone in my life knows this. I look at them and I'm just like, I don't know what you just said to me. It was way too long and I didn't hear it. Like, I need to see things. So when I really think this should be spent, there should be so much more time spent on this, because I think that kids, when you can teach students how to understand how they best learn, and as a teacher you are truly teaching to all the different types of learners in your classroom, they're more engaged and they want to come to your classroom and they want to learn. I talk a lot with my students about, you have to hear it, see it, say it, do it. in order to really learn it. And that's what I really learned when I got my master's degree about 4 years into teaching. And honestly, it changed how I taught. I think it explained to me why I like doing the things that I did, and how visual I was. And I think that's why I really like technology, because kids can be interactive with it and they get to do it and see it and hear it and say it. I mean, truly, it's how kids learn best, especially in this generation where they have their phones and TikTok and Snapchat and all of that. So I think that's something that I really think every teacher should know before they go into the classroom. I mean, you're so unprepared if you don't focus on that and really think about that every single day you're in the classroom.
Yeah, you're right. And like you said, right now, Amanda, who just put in a comment, says kids have to experience it too. And that's, I think, one of the things like right now that I am seeing that I've learned from the last 18 months, we'll talk a little bit about that too, like your experience with that. But it's creating those learning experiences, like, like you're mentioning, like, multimodal learning, trying to hit on multiple facets of that learning to really engage those lessons, but creating that environment, fostering that environment of creativity as well. And of course, using the tech as a tool to enhance that, that definitely can elevate what a teacher can already does great and just add that additional seasoning to that great lesson now with a great tool that can help you redefine and can help you augment the learning too as well. So that's something that's wonderful. So we'll talk a little bit there as far as the tech is concerned. But I mean, you're speaking my language. I mean, your experience, like I said, I didn't grow up like, with a family of educators. I went through this college of business, but the passion that you share for education and just hearing you talk, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so cool to talk to, so many people that are passionate, because I never wanted to be a teacher, but I fell into teaching and absolutely fell in love. And, everything that you're talking about, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And it's great. So I love it, my friend.
You know what else I think is really important that I think, and I think it came out a lot more this year, the whole social emotional,
Mhm.
SEL, social emotional learning. I've always done that. And so for me, it kind of is funny to me that to hear all of these, how many people have realized how important it is to have relationships with your kids. And I've kind of been like, what else have y'all been doing? Because for me,
Yes.
I established, like, that's the most important thing. And I've really done it a lot more, really focused on it a lot more in the last few years, where they come into my classroom. I don't want to sit and tell them the rules of my classroom and what we're going to, I want to, you need to have a relationship with your kids. Your kids need to, they might not necessarily all have to like you, but they need to be able to respect you and realize that you care about them. And when you have that and you establish those bonds, that
Yes.
trust, I mean, then you can start teaching them. But there are too many teachers who come in every year and they're immediately like, okay, here are the rules. This is what we're going to do. But kids don't want to hear that. So I've come up with some different activities on those first few days. I want them to know, I'm so happy that you're here. Like, I am so excited to know you, to have you, to spend time with you. And then you can do the other stuff. But if
Yes.
so I think that's really important too.
Yes, no, I agree with you 100%. I always said like the return on investment will be great the more time you invest in getting to know them. And like very much like you, when you mentioned SEL, coming from a marketing background, like marketing is all I knew. And so to me, with marketing, when I did my first job, it was all about customer service, personalizing sales, and all that. So I tell people, I was like, man, I was doing the personalized learning way before it even became cool. And much like you, I'm like, what has everybody else been doing? Like I thought that this was what we were supposed to do. But but the great part is you learn things, you bring in things from your experiences, and then all of a sudden you just start seeing how we can add and how we can teach and how we can still continue learning to better our practice. And that's the best part. So Jamie, I wanted to ask you also, as an educator in the years of education, what was your biggest edu kryptonite? Like what was like the thing that just kind of like made you weak, deflated you, whether maybe, I don't know, throwing it out there. I always told myself when I close my door, I'm in my domain. I am my teacher, the master of that, and having some fun. But when you open the door, that means the administrative floodgates are open. But I don't know, maybe something along that way, or was there something else that you saw as your edu kryptonite?
I think for me, I one of the things, and I hate to be like negative, I think one of the things that's hard is that depending on where you're teaching, sometimes the admin isn't like working all together, and you may have someone, maybe it's your instructional coach or whoever it is, who is working on, I don't know, their national board certification, and then they have something particular that they want to work on. And I feel like a lot of times, even though I understand that admin has their roles and they have to set those SMART goals for the years, and your 90-day plan, whatever it is, I feel like sometimes that takes away from teachers and being able to do our job when we have to focus on these added elements that I don't think sometimes are necessarily important to the instruction in my classroom, and it benefits my kids. So I would get frustrated when you had to figure, just on top of everything that you have to do already as a teacher, and then I have to figure out a way to do, I don't even know, I can't think of a very good example, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And
Yes.
it's not that, and I don't blame them. I mean, they have their jobs to do as well. But so I have a hard time when things don't align with what I'm supposed to be doing in my classroom. And then they're just the external noise, like you said. I want, yeah, that's hard for me.
Yeah, no, no, I get you. I totally get you. I've always been a believer, like, and very much like you, being in the classroom for 11 years, oftentimes it was, you come in, you have your expectations, and then all of a sudden they just pile stuff on,
More,
additional stuff. And as the years have gone by, and as my role has transitioned, and, doing a lot more studying, a lot more research, and, connecting with other educators, I found that there's some educators or administrators, that offer a great practice that, if I'm going to give something else to a teacher to do, is there something that I can remove from them, so at least they feel like, okay, this might be substituting this, but that's one less thing you need to do, but that way we can focus on this and try to alleviate and remove some of those things that are no longer sustainable or measurable, or, at that given time, to, again, just put them at ease. Because I mean, once you're in the classroom, I mean, you get rolling, and like you said, sometimes you get that additional noise that comes in, that, I mean, we all have to do it, but, just help us out a bit.
yeah. It's nice when like your school plan aligns with what you already do in the classroom.
Yeah.
Like you know how it is. You show up those first few days and you're like, okay, so what are we working on this year? And sometimes you're like, okay, that's cool, I do that already. And sometimes you're like, how the heck am I going to do? I mean, I think English and social studies have it easier sometimes. I know there was one year like focusing on informational text, but then it's like, and then you'll be given those things, but then it's up to you to figure out how to do that in your classroom. So it's hard. It's hard when you're a teacher and you have those extra things that you have to do. So that probably is was one of my frustrations.
No, yeah. Oh, I love this. Amanda says, like a buffet, don't eat it all of, or you'll be stuffed. Or yeah, don't eat it all. Yeah, love it, love it. All right, Jamie. Well, let's talk a little bit more now. Like, of course, we got to know you a little bit more, your background in education, and so on. And as everybody has seen, the title of the show is definitely called "Transition from Classroom to Platform." So, talk to us a little bit about this journey. And now we'll finally mention, the company that you're working for, and so on. I just kind of wanted to keep it a surprise, just so you can go ahead and let maybe people who may be connecting with you, or maybe there's some people out there that did not know about this transition today, you can go ahead and share that with them. But I would love for you to, I guess, your experience and saying, okay, why am I moving? Or, what played into making the decision into moving, onto a platform and doing, I guess, this change in
Hmm.
your job now, the transition. All
Yeah.
right. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start with, my life is so different now that I'm an official empty nester. I have the like I said, there's four kids between us, and they're all adults. Our baby is 19, and she's a soccer player at Portland State University. So with that comes lots of change, which is why it was easy for me to be able to kind of sell my house in Albuquerque and move here. But there's always, I have known that there's always something else besides teaching that I want to do. And I really have always wanted to go teach. And my dream job, besides what I'm doing right now, would be to work with student teachers in like the School of Education and college, because like, I love having student teachers. I feel like I have a lot to offer. And I just have always enjoyed being a mentor and doing that. So, but I just can't go back. I can't go get my PhD. I know I don't have to have it to do that, but that's just something that's always been. So that was one thing I've always wanted to do. But this whole being able to do work with technology and help teachers use technology in their meaningful technology in their classroom, because you know that when technology first really started to kind of emerge in education, that was an issue when you'd have a lot of people who would use it just to use it, but weren't using it effectively, right? Like when you first were being told you have to use technology in your classroom. I mean, even people using Promethean boards, I mean, that was like, some teachers were like, I do not want this. Give me my overhead projector and my white, your dry erase, what are those pens? My
Yeah,
V's.
dry erase, transparencies, all that good stuff.
I know how to do that, and it's easy. So it's funny to think now, like a Promethean board was like those. What else do you call them? What do people call them? Magic boards? I don't know.
Yeah, magic
Is
boards,
that what they call them? Yeah,
smart
smart
boards
boards.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that those were like overwhelming to people. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is so cool. Wait, I can be on my computer and I've always embraced that. So I just have always I've always known that I want to do something with that. I knew I didn't want to be my experiences up until this last year, instructional coaches a lot of times don't. I thought maybe that's what I wanted to be. But as you may know, and maybe it's changed, but in my previous schools, the instructional coach usually ended up doing way more than being an instructional coach. They ended up being like the SAT chair and the 504 chair and in charge of PD and didn't get to actually work with teachers in the classroom and really help mentor. And that's what I wanted to do. So I knew that if I got into one of those jobs, there's so much more to it. You don't ever get to just be working with teachers in the classroom and all of that. So I never went to do that. But I just have always known that this is something that I wanted to do. And I think I really kind of lucked out that it happened the way that it did. We started a family business here and it was so busy when we first started. So I basically decided that I wasn't going to go back to teaching because I thought we needed help with that. As soon as I made that decision, I was interviewed for like EdTech magazine, and then a couple people saw that and then did some podcasts. And so from that, I met people from this company called The Juice, which a lot of people do not know about, which I'm so excited to talk about. TheJuiceLearning.com is the website, and we can talk about it in a little bit. But basically, they kind of Cam Elkins got in touch with me and wanted to interview me for a podcast. And when I started looking at this platform, I was just like, where has this been? It's brand new. It really just has been around since February of this year. That's why a lot of people don't know about it. But man, I wish I had it this whole last school year. It is to give you a short version of it. It's basically we create on a daily basis original content that it's current events. So there are up to 6 articles. There you go. Yeah, engaging content engages learners. So there you go. That's perfect. I'm just going to read this. Students read today's news in 10 to 20 minutes, interacting with informational text, practicing digital media literacy skills, and answering standard-based questions while sharpening their reading comprehension and critical thinking skills. And teachers get like the most amazing data. So when I took one look at that, I immediately was like, what? Are you kidding me right now? I would have used this every single day in my classroom. So after I did my interview with them, my podcast, when we were like off the record, I said, are you guys hiring? I want to work for you. And they were kind of like, really? And I said, I'm not coming back to teaching next year. And they kind of looked at me and they were like, well, where do you see yourself in this? Like, what would you see yourself doing? We had a conversation about that. And then Cam and I had a couple more conversations. He went back and talked to everyone, and I sent them some stuff that I created that I would use in the classroom with their content. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. And And then that was a few months ago, and before you know it, they were like, we want to hire you, we want you to work for us, we love your passion and your experience and your connections that you have with people. And it honestly is like the perfect marriage of everything that I love and am passionate about is in this platform. I mean, truly, and every teacher that I've shown it to, I mean, I showed it to you, you got the experience where you're like, this is awesome. This is so cool. So I am now working for the company, and I'm more than just kind of like a salesperson. I'm really helping them with even developing it. We have so many things that we're working on and so excited to bring to everyone. We have a new trial version that is coming on Monday. So next week is going to be really fun with some giveaways, and I'll be starting a new ed chat that will be every other week, and I probably will have you come and be a host on that.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I
there's
love
a lot
that.
that's going to happen, but I'm really excited to share it with people because, as you know, teachers, I think the coolest thing about teachers is that we love sharing stuff. We want all of our friends to have the cool stuff. You don't find something and keep it to yourself. That's not how teachers are. So when you find something that you love and you're passionate about, it's like you shout it to the rooftop. I mean, that's what Twitter's all about, is our PLN or PLF, and getting excited to share things with everyone. So, I think it's been a really organic kind of journey for me to bring me to this place where I was like, oh, hey, you should hire me. And they were like, okay, we will hire you. And
That
here I am.
Yeah, but see, that's so great, and for all educators that are out there, I mean, it's just, I think these last 18 months have definitely uh, sharpened us, and it's like iron sharpens iron. Some of us, were thriving. Some of us, learned some great new tools and great new practices and so on. And right now, I mean, it's just ed tech, educational technology, due to the last 18 months, and seeing the growth, the exponential growth. I mean, there are definitely companies that are looking for educators because of that experience, that being in the classroom. And like you said, Jamie, all of your experience, what you brought to the table, the way that you developed your resources, the way that you brought that passion and so on to educators, and to your students, most importantly, making that impact. Now, putting yourself out on social media and connecting with people, and of course getting showcased in EdTech magazine, the doors that have opened up. And that's just amazing, that now educators, it's, you can have your foot in so many things, in so many areas now, and make a greater impact. So I am so happy for you, my friend, because
Thank
of
you.
this opportunity that you're having to, that energy, that passion that you bring. Now you're putting it here into the juice, and now, like I said, having a larger reach. And that, I think, and I don't know if you've even thought about that, maybe you have, but to me, I'm like, wow, as a teacher, just having that reach and that impact,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
Well, and the exciting thing is that we've been calling it my Texas Road Show. I get to go. I know, but really, I mean, that's what I'm going to start working on soon. I'm going to come. We're going to get to hang out, because I am literally now, I'm focusing on, so where I used to teach in Albuquerque, obviously I have a lot of teacher friends there, but so New Mexico and Texas will be kind of like my full on. It is super simple and teacher friendly. It is. And listen, anyone who's on here who wants to check it out and have me show it to you, please, you can go to Twitter and DM me. And they love it. I got to, so I was asked, how are students responding to it? I used it this summer. So this summer I got to teach. So I'm still teaching, by the way. I got a job this summer working for Austin Community College in the Upward Bound program, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Some people
Yes.
are.
Yep.
Okay. And it's, for people who don't know, it's a federally funded program for first generation college bound students. And I had the best time this summer teaching. So, and I'm still going to be working with ACC this summer. So that's how I'm still teaching. I want to make sure everyone knows, even though I'm not full-time teaching, I can't give up being with babies all year long. And I'm also mentoring in the Ascend program too as well. So I'm still
So
doing that.
so your kids got a little older though.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. We had so much. Last night was the banquet for our program, and I
Oh,
cried. Like it was so cool to see these kids, and they talked about what they learned this summer. But they absolutely loved it. I mean, they every day for my bell ringer, because I was kind of short on time. It was only like an hour-long class, but I had 3 classes a day, and the first thing they would do, I would either tell them an article that I wanted them to read out of the 6. Well, they're yeah, there's a video and things like that. But I either would say, hey, pick 2 that you're interested in and let's share out, or I would assign them one if there's something I wanted them to read about. And then their homework was to read an issue, like one full issue, 2 issues a week. And the thing for me that I love is that what we pride ourselves on and what as part of our mission at the Juice is that our original content is unbiased news, which is really difficult to find. And that's really kind of how this all came about, was that in this day and age with where there's so much more commentary in the media, and fake news and all of that, that to be able to have students be involved in reading current events, it's hard. If you just say, hey, go read a current event article, they have a hard time finding that online. So for us to provide that for students, and it's differentiated at 4 different levels, but it's written for kids, which then leads to these conscious conversations that you can have in the classroom where you're talking. I felt comfortable and safe in having my kids read about what's going on in the world from the Juice, because I know who's writing it. We have an unbelievable team of educators and journalists, with years and years of experience, who meet daily to write this content for kids. So there's just nothing out there on the market like this. And so my kids loved it. We had such awesome conversations, and we talked about some things, honestly, that I normally might be a little nervous about talking about, because I don't know where they're getting their information from. So to know where it's coming from and know it's written for them was just like, it was so cool. The kids, they loved it. I mean, they all talked about how much they love the Juice.
and I love, like you said, it's important to have those conversations in the classroom. And then when everybody is on the same text set and you're reading something, and it's also differentiated where everybody can participate in the conversation. And it's not, sometimes, through practice, maybe prior to COVID, it's like, okay, we're going to do differentiated instruction, where maybe some students get a completely different article, and then they kind of are left out, and maybe they can't be part of that conversation because
Mhm.
it's not the same article. Here it's like everybody gets to the same information, they all get to participate. And that's one of the things that's really great, because you're creating that learning experience, and you're creating that environment where everybody can participate. And that's an amazing thing. So I
Yeah.
love it. I love
And
it.
I mean, and and I think that I know you'll agree with me. One of my goals also as a teacher, I feel like I'm more of a mom than a teacher a lot of times.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
my kids to be good people. I mean, on my mm, teacher page, like missalmon.com, there's this quote about some kids are smarter than you, some kids have cooler clothes than you, blah, blah, blah. But be the kind kid. I'm sure I don't know if you've seen that before, but that's like my quote on my missalmon.com like teacher page. It's not really for education. I mean, like ed tech stuff, but that's where I would send my kids. And so I try and teach kids. I'm a mother too. Like I can't help it. I've been a mom, so I want my students to be kind and really and good citizens. I want to help them become better citizens and become more empathetic. And one of the ways that you can do that is to talk about what's going on in the world. And when the kids can see other people's life experiences and read about that, I mean, that truly, how can you not become more empathetic when you learn about the lives of other people and what's going on in the world? So I think there's that element of it that I really like as well, to be able to have those kind of conversations. So that's really important to me. It's not even like, so this is why when people talk about learning loss this year, it makes my blood boil a little bit, because when I think about all the things that my kids learned this year, they learn more than they probably have ever learned. Honestly, I mean, the things that they can now do on a computer. I mean, my kids this summer can go create their own Google sites. They can I mean, there's just so much, and I think that there was so much that happened in the world over the last year that they learned about. So again, being able to talk about those things in the classroom is really important. And I know a lot of teachers are afraid to do that. So we help that. We help teachers with that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I did get a chance to meet with you and Cam and go over it and everything. And honestly, like for anybody listening or rewatching the show, I mean, definitely go check it out. It's definitely worth the checkout, and you'd be surprised, just the simplicity of the platform. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's like sometimes platforms you think, well, it doesn't have this or doesn't have that and so on. But, in its essence, and back to just keeping it simple, this platform offers you really what it is that you need to just have some amazing classroom discussions, and more importantly too, for your students to be able to work on those skills, the reading, its differentiation, and of course, you get to work on inferencing skills, you get all sorts of stuff. So please make sure that you do check out the platform. It's definitely worth your time to check it out. And again, reach out to Jamie also as well. She'll definitely be able to help you out and answer any questions and so on. So I'm
And
very
I'll
happy with
say,
that.
and I'm going to add in here,
Yeah, Amanda says she's unsubscribing to the term learning loss. I
I
unsubscribed
know,
from that a long
a
time
long
ago.
time ago.
That
I mean,
that word is my edu kryptonite. Like
yes,
seriously, like the
same.
word learning loss.
I should have
I
just
was
said
like, because to me that's completely arbitrary. I was like, somebody at the state says, oh, there's learning loss. I was like, it was there really? I mean, some of these numbers, I don't know, but that's just me.
Our U.S. history kids on their STAR test that they took this year, we had at our school like a 91% pass rate. So I don't think there was learning loss. We did our kids learned stuff this year. But and the other part that I want to just point out for anyone listening, if you're interested, I think that the other strength of this learning platform, and we do truly call it a learning platform, is the data that you can get. You get data about how your kids are doing on their because there's questions, there's standards based questions that are aligned to every single question that's asked. They are the reading comprehension, critical thinking skills, but that you get data. So you can actually go in to the teacher portal and click on the learning portal, the learning standard panel, and see data. You can see how your kids are doing based on particular standards. So you may have a kid who's struggling, and you can look through and it'll show you every question they get wrong. And you can say, all right, so this kid absolutely needs to practice on their inferencing skills, whatever it is. It tells you exactly that. And again, I know that's something that teachers are faced with. Everyone's about to get there in a few weeks, where you have to figure out, okay, this is what I'm setting out for my student goals for the year. And again, then we're always faced with, okay, well then what data do you have to prove that? And that's hard as a teacher. But guess what? With the juice, you get that information. I mean, truly, you get actionable. You're given actionable data that you get, and you can say, look, this kid, this is where his reading level was. This is what he was doing at the beginning of the year, and now he's at this. And it's like, that
Yeah.
alone was like that mind-blowing emoji to me. Again, I wish that I've had this for years, because I just think so many teachers, I mean, like I said, every teacher that has seen it is like, this is incredible. And
Yeah.
so that's why I wanted to work with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I love it, just hearing your story today, just you growing up and having our audience members and our listeners just get to know you a little bit more, your background and everything that you've been talking. I mean, everything just it's so amazing. Just that educator heart that you have, that passion for education that you brought into the classroom, you're bringing into, higher ed and the community college as well. And then now transitioning onto a platform and bringing all that to them. I mean, it's just amazing, like hearing your journey. And I hope that many of our educator friends that are listening are also just feeling inspired to say, hey, you know what, there are opportunities to, be able to grow, and from classroom to platform as well. And it's just a matter of looking, seeing what is out there, something that may fit your niche, your strengths, and so on. And I know that there's a lot of companies that are out there moving into the ed tech or educational ed tech that are definitely going to be looking out for those teachers that are connected, that are putting their stuff up on social media. So, it's one of those things. Just put yourself out there, guys. Don't
Well,
hesitate.
that's the honestly, that is the one piece of advice. I think if you were to ask my two kids, what's the best piece of advice your mom ever gave you? I have raised my kids and I live a life of the worst they can do is say no. You can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid. In our Upward Bound banquet last night, there was this awesome Denzel Washington video. It was like a college speech that he gave, and he was talking about don't ever, when you die in your grave, don't have the ghosts of your past, of where you the things that you didn't do. I'm not wording it very well, but don't ever regret, the ghosts of of regrets or something like that. Honestly, I live my life that way. I'm never afraid to ask for something that I want because again, I like this job. They literally said, you need to hire me. I think you should hire me. And they were like, okay. I mean, and if they said no, then okay. They said, but at least I asked, and I wouldn't ever be afraid. And I teach my students that as well. The worst they can do is say no.
There
So
you
you
go.
got to put yourself out there. If you want something, you manifest it, do your little board, put your little pictures up and think about it every single day. And, no one should be in a job where they're unhappy. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. So it's really important.
Love it. That is some great, great advice there, my friend. Well, we're almost done here on time and winding down. But here are my two favorite questions to ask my audience members here at the end. And so, Jamie, if you can have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
You know what? It'd probably be what I just said. Honestly, it would be like me being like, the worst they can do is say no. Always ask, like something like that, because I think people forget that you get so caught up in your life, and no one should live a life being afraid and unhappy. Like that's just not, our life is so short. I know that's so cliche, but it's true. You need to wake up every morning and be excited about what you're going to do for the day. I mean, I have been looking forward to this since we agreed. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, like I could sit and talk with you all day long about education. So I know I'm doing the right thing in my life because I love it so much. So
Oh, I love it. I love that you said. I think that's a great billboard just to put out there as everybody drives by. Say, what's the worst that can happen? Or
yep.
just say no. I mean, what's the worst? I mean,
It's like
there's
that
nothing else.
What's that Wayne Gretzky quote? I always get it wrong. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Is that
Exactly.
what it
Hey,
is? Yeah.
that's a good one too, right there. We can do two billboards, like one of those duplex or one on one side, one on the other side. Perfect. All right. And the last question, my friend, if this was your podcast and you were interviewing me, what would be a question that you'd like to ask me? Wow, that kind of rhymed.
I guess I would ask you, what exactly is your dream? Like, if you really had a total dream job, what would your title be? What would you do?
Oh, my total dream job would be to interview educators every single day. I would love to just give this platform over just to people like you, as I get to do every week, and just do it for a living. I mean, and just connecting educators and having people know educators and building those platforms. And I know there are other shows that do the same thing, but I don't know. I just that would be my dream job to
Yeah, but
be
you're
able.
so good at it. I mean, you have the best, like honestly, just the best energy, and you're so smart. And I love talking with you so much. I mean, after like that, yep.
Thank you,
Yes.
Amanda. Thank you.
No, but
For
not
those of you, listening, Amanda, my friend Amanda Macias put here "goat!" exclamation point, all caps.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
you,
pointing.
Amanda.
Wait, I won't. No, there. Okay,
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
No, and I mean, this is just a passion of mine. I think it's just being a connector and connecting with educators. But you know what? That stems from very similar to you, and that's why, like, when you were talking about how you were as a young child, and you're growing up in your household. I mean, for myself, I just have this thirst for knowledge and learning. And I think that the best way that I can do that is just go straight to the source. And so a lot of people sometimes ask, like, oh, the guests that you have and so on. You know, it's been a while. For a while there were people that are reaching out to me, but now I'm the one. Like you said, what's the worst they can say is no. I reach out to those people that I've learned something from or want to connect with because I'm just I just want to pick their brain. I want to know their experiences. I want people to get inspired by them too, and then see what knowledge nuggets I can take that I can go ahead and add to my practice and add that additional seasoning
Yeah.
to do to what I'm doing. So yeah,
And
so
we're
that
all people. Like that's the thing. Like some people get so hung up on people's titles. Like I don't, that doesn't scare me. I'm going to talk to anyone. I mean, I just think we are all humans, and therefore I don't care if you have 75,000 followers. If I'm interested in talking to you, I'm going to send you a message and be like, hey, or I comment. I'm not, people have to stop living their lives being afraid. The worst
yeah,
they can do is say no, and then move on.
exactly.
They
I
can never
think
know because
yeah,
honest, I think more times than not, people say yes, live a life of yes.
for sure. I love it. Oh my goodness, my friend. It's been, man, this time it flew by. This
It is.
conversation was great. But I want to thank you, Jamie, for just the work that you're doing. More than anything, too, also just the passion, your heart that you have, and just the way that you continue to seek that knowledge and just continue to work hard. And so I want to thank you for what you're doing and what you're about to do, you know, now that you are part of the juice and just being able to reach out and have, I guess, that extended impact,
Mhm.
you know, and that's just amazing because there's definitely going to be a lot of students that are going to have a great experience with this platform. So I'm really excited to, you know, follow you and follow up. And, you know, it's just been great having you here. So I did share, you know, your Twitter handle here. Is there any other place where maybe our audience members, our viewers can go ahead and connect with you aside from Twitter?
No, I mean that, and then at the juice, and I mean either one of those places you can get me. I mean, pretty
Perfect.
much those
Well,
are my main things where I am right now.
yeah, I'll definitely be popping those links into the show notes, guys. So, Jamie, again, thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thank
being here. For
you.
all our audience members, those of you watching live, thank you so much for making us part of your morning for these, you know, for this about 55 minutes or so. I appreciate you guys. For those of you that are going to be rewatching or listening to the show later on, please make sure you click on all the links so you can follow Jamie, so you can go ahead and check out the juice also. It is some sweet juice that you're going to get ready to squeeze once you get into that website. You're going to definitely check out the goods there. So make sure you follow them and make sure that you also give us some feedback, guys. Go to our webpage at myedtech.life. Give us a review, contact us, let us know what we're doing great. Let us know what we can work on. Maybe if you're interested in being a guest, please make sure you reach out to us, guys. Again, what's the worst that can happen? Say no. I hardly ever say no, guys. I want to learn. I want to learn from everybody. So contact us, guys. I appreciate you. And again, as always, we do, or I do what I do because of you guys. I want to make sure that we bring you the best. And again, most importantly, connect you with other passionate educators that you can follow and that you can go ahead and connect with. That's what it's all about. So until next time, my friends, I appreciate every one of you. Till next time, stay techie, my friends.